Hey guys, welcome back. It's Nick again. If you saw my last video called Muting Strings Like a Boss, then this is a continuation of that, except this time we're going to talk about bending and vibrato, how to mute strings of unwanted string noise is what we're talking about. How to mute that stuff out while you're applying vibrato, while you're bending strings, while you're playing licks, that sort of thing. So at the beginning you saw me playing over a track that I created, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to link you to that track down below, as well as the other video. I'll link you to that too, the first video in this little series here. But let me show you what's going on with the rhythm, and then we'll get on to the main part of the lesson. So with the rhythm track, I'm playing the key of E here in standard tuning. So basically an E to a D. So I'm going from D to A over C sharp. Hopefully you know that type of chord. And then down to C. So it's got a little bit of Dorian and then a little natural minor in it. Kind of like similar to something Rat might do, for example. Little scale run here. Second time I just go to a C and then G and D, and then the third time same as the first, and the last one and land on a D chord there. I love that sort of thing. John Sykes does that stuff all the time. Okay, and then when I'm soloing during the when I first start kicking in with the little vibrato ideas. That's just playing over. That kind of a thing. All right, so let's get on to what's going on with the vibrato notes. So the first thing I'm doing is playing E. Now, if you want to really kind of see what I'm doing in action, watch my pick hand when I'm soloing at the first part of the video. But also right here you can kind of see where my thumb, just like we talked about on the last video, is muting out the lower strings. So I'm playing ninth fret, 3rd string, and I'm applying basically a quarter note vibrato to that. So what needs to happen for that to be clear is that the E, low E, A, and D strings all need to be muted out, and that's happening with my thumb. Okay, and the top strings need to be muted out as well, top 2 strings. So I'm grabbing those with these 2 fingers on my pick hand, my middle and ring finger. My pinky also gets in there a little bit. Okay, hopefully you can hear how clear that is. Oops. So the second note I'm basically doing a little hammer pull from 9 to 11 and then playing this D note here. Same thing, so the muting stays the same. All these notes are on the 3rd string so far. C sharp, so I'm 7, 9, and then 6, 6, 7, hammer pull, and then that's a C note there to land on that C chord. Okay, so the whole line would be I got a little scale run here. Okay, and that's going to lead into the next part. All right, so hopefully you can see everything was muted besides the G string so that all those notes could ring out clearly. Now when I move up, I'm going to bend and all these notes are going to be on the B string. So now what needs to happen is the thumb moves down to one more string to cover the lower 4 strings, E, A, D, and G. And you got to be careful too when you're muting. You don't want to mute out accidentally the notes that you're playing. So the first note I'm bending to is from 15 on the B string up a whole step to the E note. Well, I don't want to accidentally get my thumb to mute that note out like that. So you have to be careful. It's a little bit of trial and error to see where the right placement's going to be for your thumb. Okay, so hopefully you can see and hear how I can not only bend that note up but add vibrato to it and mute everything out. The high E string's being muted by my pick hand fingers here. Just about zero noise. And you can even, you know, really dig into that. Second note, that's a half step bend from C sharp to D, basically targeting that D note. And then another half step bend from 13 to 14, so now I'm targeting a C sharp. And then I'm going from half step from 12 to 13 to hit that C note. So the whole line would be okay, so that's how this works in the real world. You know, you might be on stage, you're playing at super high volume. You can get a lot of extraneous noise anyway, just by moving around. But if you can control what you can control with single notes and still have the kind of articulation that you want and the expression that you want without getting a bunch of noise, then you're going to be golden. So this stuff's well worth practicing, especially if you do have any troubles with string noise when you're playing, when you're recording, whatever you're doing. It's simple, but it takes some practice to just think again about what note am I playing, what are the other strings that need to be muted out. Okay, now this is all well and good when you're playing single notes at a slow tempo like this, because you have time to get the hand in place. But what if you're playing something more complex? So I'll play a couple of these licks here. I improvised, so I'm not sure if they're exactly what I played, but I'll show you a couple of the licks I did at the end and how I'm muting that stuff. Now, I'm not thinking about muting when I'm playing, so hopefully you won't be either after a while, because this really needs to be second nature. But just to demonstrate how this works, so the first lick I did after this, okay, a little bit of my Warren D. Martini, George Lynch influence coming out there. And by the way, Jake Parmar and I do have a lesson pack called Sunset Strip Hard Rock Heroes, which I'll link to below as well. It's full of killer George Lynch and Warren D. Martini licks. There's my shameless plug for the day. But this lick, so if we watch what the muting hand's doing here, so I'm going from the second to the third string. So right there, those notes are on the B string. My thumb is muting out the lower 4 strings. My pick hand finger is muting the top string. Now when I move to the G string, my thumb moves up or down, whichever way you want to look at it. So now I'm muting the lowest 3 strings. So watch how that happens. Okay, then I'm going to the 3rd and 4th strings. Now I'm muting out, I'm going to move to the 4th string here, so now my thumb moves even lower to mute out the lowest 2 strings, and my fret hand fingers, my pick hand fingers come over and mute the higher strings. So it's always a little bit of these little small movements. Let me turn a little bit this way now. Just take a look at here what this hand's doing and what this hand's doing without really worrying about the lick too much. Okay, now the next lick I play is going to travel from the D string to the high E string and end with a bend on the B string. So you play that lick slow. Okay, so again, watch what this hand's doing. All these little movements of this, and the way to get really good at it is just to take everything you play and just work through it with this muting in mind, making sure no other noise can happen. Okay. And then I think the last lick I did was something like that, where I'm extending the pentatonic scale here. And by the way, I'm playing all this stuff is basically E minor pentatonic, E blues. So here I'm bouncing off the high E and the B string. So I'm using my thumb to mute out the lowest 4 strings. And it's just kind of resting against the strings like that. Again, if you're a little bit confused about what I'm talking about with the thumb muting, go back to the first video, muting strings like a boss, which I'll link to, and check that out. Something like that. Okay, cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that and it makes sense. These 2 videos together should help if you're having trouble with muting strings, should help you to begin to get rid of some of that noise. So until next time, I'll see you. Make sure and grab the links below. Also, my free sweep picking course, you'll see about that in a minute. The link for that is below as well. I'll see you next time. Rock on. Hey everybody, Nick Layton here. If you're into rock and roll guitar and you like Marshall amps and you like Charvel guitars and you like stuff that shreds, I think you're going to dig my free sweep picking boot camp. It's a free course. It's 25 pages. It's got video files. It's got audio files. I think you're going to really dig it. Go download it now. It's free for you. Check it out.